Breaking news for everyone receiving Social Security benefits. Fresh inflation data has just been released, and it's giving us a much clearer picture of what your 2027 cost of living adjustment could actually look like. Whether you're a retiree receiving SSDI or collecting SSI, the numbers we're about to discuss could directly impact your monthly check. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into today's critical update, if you haven't already, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. This way, you'll never miss an important Social Security update that could affect your benefits. Trust me, you don't want to be the last one to know about changes to your monthly income. All right, let's get right into it. So here's what just happened. We received brand new inflation data for the month of February. And this is significant because it brings us one step closer to understanding what your next Social Security increase will be through the cost of living adjustment, commonly known as COLA. Now, let me explain how this works for those who might be new to understanding COLA. The official announcement won't come until October because that's when we'll have the complete third-order data. The Social Security Administration compares the third quarter numbers from this year to last year's third quarter, and whatever percentage increase we see, that becomes your COLA for the following year. For context, this year in 2026, the cost of living adjustment was 2.8%, which was actually an increase from the 2.5% adjustment we received in 2025. So beneficiaries did see some improvement. However, here's where things get interesting for 2027, and frankly, where opinions among experts start to diverge significantly. Let's break down the actual numbers from the latest Consumer Price Index report. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics data released this week, consumer prices rose 2.4% annually in February. The Consumer Price Index increased by a seasonally adjusted 0.3% for the month, putting the 12-month inflation rate at 2.4%. Now here's what's particularly noteworthy. Both of these numbers match the Dow Jones Consensus Forecast exactly. When we strip out the volatile food and energy prices, the core CPI posted a 0.2% monthly reading with a 2.5% annual rate. Again, this was right in line with expert estimates. What does this tell us? The annual rates remained unchanged from January, which indicates that while inflation is holding above the Federal Reserve's target of 2%, it's not getting worse. The Federal Reserve typically aims for that 2% sweet spot, meaning something that costs $100 one year would cost $12 the next year. That's considered healthy, normal inflation. The problem over the past few years, we've consistently been running higher than that 2% target. We've seen rates of 2.8%, 3%, and who could forget that painful 8.7% spike just a few years ago that really hurt everyone's purchasing power. Looking at the broader trend between 2022 and 2023, inflation absolutely skyrocketed out of control, climbing to nearly 9%. Since that peak, we've seen it dip. By mid-2023, it had fallen to around 3%. But here's the frustrating reality. Over the last 2 to 3 years, progress has essentially stalled. We've experienced some minor dips in inflation here and there, but overall, we're hovering close to where we were in the middle of 2023. The Federal Reserve has struggled significantly to push inflation down to that ideal 2% target. This stubborn inflation is exactly why understanding these numbers matter so much for your Social Security benefits. Now let's talk about what the experts are actually predicting for your 2027 COLA. This is where things get really interesting because we have two respected sources with notably different projections. First, we have the Senior Citizens League, commonly known as TSCL, who is currently projecting a 2.8% cost of living adjustment for 2027. That would be identical to what we received this year, essentially maintaining the status quo. On the other hand, we have Mary Johnson, a highly respected retired independent Social Security and Medicare policy analyst. Here's where it gets interesting. Last month, she was predicting just 1.2%, which is dramatically lower than TSCL's projection. However, this month, she has revised her estimate upward by 0.5 percentage point to 1.7%. That's still more than a full percentage point below TSCL's projection, which is an unusually large spread between two expert forecasts. These two sources are typically much closer in their estimates. So this divergence is definitely something to watch. Here's a critical factor that could change everything: oil prices and global geopolitical tensions. Mary Johnson has indicated she's closely monitoring oil prices because the CPIW index used to calculate your COLA is weighted more heavily toward gasoline costs. The February CPI data we just discussed doesn't capture the recent March surge in oil prices tied to international conflicts. Following escalating tensions in the Middle East, crude oil climbed sharply amid fears of supply disruptions. This could significantly impact future inflation readings. Johnson stated that geopolitical tensions are currently driving up oil prices, which will continue to push her COLA estimate higher. This means her 1.7% projection could potentially climb above 2%, bringing her forecast much closer to TSCL's 2.8% estimate. She's also watching several other factors: potential tariff-related price hikes, shortages of certain items due to supply chain disruptions, and continued high costs at the supermarket, particularly beef prices, which have been stubbornly elevated. Speaking of costs that affect the COLA calculation, let's look at energy prices specifically. In February, home heating oil prices were up 6.2% compared to last year. Natural gas increased by a significant 10.9%, and electricity costs rose by 4.8%. These energy cost increases hit seniors and those on fixed incomes particularly hard because they often spend a larger percentage of their monthly budget on utilities. This is exactly why the COLA calculation matters so much. It's supposed to help your benefits keep pace with these rising costs. All right, let's get to the numbers you really want to know. What would these different COLA scenarios actually mean for your monthly check? I'm going to break this down for Social Security retirees, SSDI recipients, and SSI beneficiaries. Starting with Social Security retirees, the average benefit this year in 2026 is $2,071. If we get that 2.8% COLA that TSCL is projecting, your benefit would increase by approximately $58 per month. That translates to nearly $700 per year, bringing your new monthly benefit to around $2,029. However, if Mary Johnson's current 1.7% projection proves accurate, the increase would be cut nearly in half, just $35 extra per month. And here's the painful reality. After the inevitable Medicare Part B premium increase gets factored in, your actual net increase could be minimal. Your new benefit would be approximately 2,000 NUDS Seeger per month. For SSDI beneficiaries, the current average benefit in 2026 is $1,630. A 2.8% COLA would boost your monthly check by $46, bringing you to $1,676 gal per month. With just a 1.7% COLA, you're looking at only $28 extra per month, raising your benefit to $1,658. For SSI individuals, the maximum federal benefit is currently $943 this year in 2026. A 2.8% cost of living adjustment would lift your benefits by $28 per month. With a 1.7% COLA, you'd see just a $17 monthly increase. So, where does this leave us? The truth is, we won't know the official COLA number until mid-October, when the Social Security Administration makes the formal announcement. But based on current data and expert analysis, we're looking at a range somewhere between 1.7% and 2.8%. The wild cards to watch are oil prices, ongoing geopolitical tensions, potential tariff impacts, and whether inflation continues its stubborn resistance to falling below 2.5%. Any significant movement in these areas could push the final COLA higher or lower than current projections. That's everything you need to know about the latest inflation data and what it means for your 2027 Social Security benefits. I'll continue monitoring these numbers closely and bring you updates as new data is released each month. If you found this information helpful, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel and ensures more people in our community stay informed about their benefits. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect time. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you're always the first to know when critical Social Security news breaks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next.